You had the title, the experience, and the network, and then you decided to relocate and start all over again. On this episode of the Lost in Transit podcast, my guest, Charity Ilevbare-Adeniji, shares with us the challenges that she faced relocating and starting all over. This episode is a story of courage, of humility, and reinvention. She walked us through the emotional journey of reinventing and building a career again from ground up. From reskilling to finding purpose, she walks us through the journey of reinventing and finding purpose. And if you've ever wondered whether it is possible or not to rise twice, this episode will prove to you that indeed it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lost in Transit podcast.
This is your professional champagne popper sushi sound.
My name is Adedayo.
My name is Mary.
My name is Taiwan.
My name is Tolu A. Akemi.
I work as a financial health and support advisor. The author of Black Multiple.
The Lion of Newcastle.
I'm on the Lost in Transit podcast.
The Lost in Transit podcast.
Lost in Transit.
Lost in Transit podcast.
Welcome back to yet another fantastic episode of your favorite podcast, Lost in Transit. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do well to do that, because who I have in the studio with me today, oh my goodness, she's a professional with over 15 years of experience in marketing communication. She has birthed and saw the rise of several products, even ones that you have remembered and ones that you've used growing up. I have in the studio with me today, Charity. Thank you so much. Let's start with your locks. I love it.
Locks.
I love it. That's very interesting with that.
But first, thank you for having me. I mean, I would not lie. This is like my first
podcast?
Yes, I really don't do this, but hey, they got me here.
Thank you for agreeing to do that.
Yeah,
I'll tell them a backstory how we met. Maybe I should even tell it now.
Maybe you should tell it.
So a few years ago, when I was a greenhorn in that industry, the marketing and comms industry, Charity was my client, and I used to go and present ideas and pitch and defend budgets. And she goes, "How much for that one? Can't we get that one for cheaper?" No, this one. Do we need this one? Take that one out. Oh, goodness me. I remember that, because then every time I'm coming to you with a budget, I'm like, okay, it's Charity's brand this time around. What do we need to do? What do we need to remove, right? Because I know that she said this money is too much, but she wants the same amount of value for this amount of money. I guess that's why.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed.
No. I had haggling in the last 3 weeks, and it was the same thing.
Did you?
Don't worry. It's the same.
Right. But then, you had a fantastic career back in Nigeria. You have decided to, relocate to the UK, to, proceed, with, expanding your frontiers and learning more, doing more, and generally being more. What has the experience been like for you, being in the UK, having done the great feats that you have in Nigeria?
Okay, so firstly, moving to the UK was more like a personal decision I had to make. I mean, I was at the top of my game in Nigeria. I had worked for many brands. I had done innovation for many brands. Everybody knew me in the marketing circles. If you don't know my name, at least you know the brand I had worked on. But in recent times, after I had my daughter, there were some delays I noticed in her developmental milestones, and going by what was obtainable in Nigeria, I knew that I needed somewhere where she's understood in terms of behavioral, in terms of the spectrum. Even though we started to do some of our findings in Nigeria, there were some things that had happened in her school where she was in Nigeria. I knew that I mean, she was secluded in some activities because they felt that it was easier to work with kids that were already, ready, and they didn't understand how to treat her and make sure her milestones were going as well as it was supposed to. So at that time, I knew that if I'd continued being in Nigeria, I would be saddled with work. I would have given that responsibility to people, and I wouldn't have been able to give her what she needed. That was one reason why I said, okay, let's go to a place where she's understood. I mean, they understand the spectrum and how they could help her. Secondly, where I worked, they drained me emotionally, physically, and it was not in alignment with my values. Now, from the outside, everybody thought that, oh, she's delivering, she's, bringing out products, everything. But inside of me, I knew that if I continue being in this place, my values were going to be misaligned, and I was going to regret it. And thirdly, I'd always wanted to know what digital was all about. I mean, I had agencies doing it for me. I'm like, this is the one place in marketing, this area of marketing that I really don't know. I rely on agencies. So, okay, rounding up those three, I said, okay, let's move.
Right.
But first, in order of priority was my daughter. She needed that specialist that could help. 2, I was mentally drained from where I was working before, and 3, I wanted to know a particular part of marketing that I didn't. So adding all that together, here I am.
Yeah, right. Interesting. And I mean, if you could digress a bit from marketing and talk briefly about your daughter, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, you've been actively advocating for awareness with respect to that, with the spectrum, and I think that's a fantastic thing you've done. Having experienced that, becoming a voice for people who have got kids and similar, that's really great.
So I think for autism, it's not a sickness, it's just a different way of looking at life. They look at life differently. Coming to the UK, it's not about awareness anymore, because a lot of people are aware. It's more around acceptance.
Right.
I mean, back home in Nigeria, there are a lot of people that hide their kids because they're on the spectrum. Sorry to mention, even Otedala, we didn't know his son was in the spectrum until recently, when COPI started to advocate. So a lot of people, when their children have Down syndrome, autism, they know what it is, they just don't accept it. And the way religion is in Nigeria is that you have to forbid it, you have to go on the altar. Yeah, there's a place for the altar, which I had seen. I moved into the UK 2022, and prayers and constantly, and I see my daughter hitting the milestones. I know that it is my faith in the higher power, which is God, and doing the right things and being there. But in Nigeria, it's pray about it. No, you pray and then you work, because faith without works is dead.
Right.
So I think for me, it's about accepting. Parents, family, people need to accept that they are neurodivergent people, and they see the world differently. While you see the world in black and white, they see it in rainbow colors and green, and we have to accept it, and we have to empower them to be who they want to be. So I tell myself, my daughter might not be the best in maths and English, but boy, can she swim. Boy, can she do the gymnastics. The things that she does in gymnastics, and the handstands and all that, I can't do it in a million years. So we cultivate that part. I mean, this is the first time we go to school and she's not excluded from activities, and that's what I wanted. In Nigeria, she was excluded because the teacher wouldn't take their time to okay, teacher, but here, they do not exclude her, they include her. And even though they might put her lines to be shorter and all that, but she is included in activities, which is inclusivity that we want.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's a great job you're doing. I see the post that you put up there. And I think, you would never know how many people you've reached to empower with knowledge and, the reason to accept that, of course, life is not always in black and white.
Yeah.
Great stuff. And shout out to you, superstar. Keep doing the gymnastics. Right. So now let's talk marketing. Right.
Marketing.
So you have practiced there, you're practicing here. What are the differences?
Okay, so first off, in terms of differences, we need to talk about culture. Two different culture. In the UK, the culture is different. In Nigeria or in Africa, the culture is different. And even within Africa, the culture is different. I mean, I had worked in Africa in Nigeria for the African market, and I tell you that in Nigeria the way they perceive brands is different from Kenya. So in Nigeria, I'll give an instance. When we do innovation for, say, shower gel, Nigerians want to smell the fragrance. You cannot, I want to smell it. In Kenya, it's too powerful for them. Don't make the fragrance so overpowering. Make it, subtle. No, don't. So even in Africa, there's a difference in the way. They'll tell you in Nigeria, when they pass, you will know them, the blings, the colors. We just want it to be subtle. In Ghana, don't stress us. We like our life in a pace. Nigerians are like, fast-paced, and the same way we do our activations and our adverts is totally different. So if I would say Africa and the UK, culturally it's different. What you might find as bland here, is bland, is what we want. Like, they'll tell you, this is just too much here. But in Africa, that's what gets you going. You want the pop of color. You want to see, but here, it's okay. We slam on the cheese, it's fine. But in Africa, they want to know, why is the cheese in the middle? It has to mean something. So emotionally, we want to connect with the brand in Africa. Here, it's not that deep. So culturally different. The way we perceive colors different. Here, they have colors for autumn. They have color for spring. But we know we wear our orange, our purple. What you mean? It's winter. You're supposed to dial it down, but no, Nigeria. We go all out. So I think the way we perceive things, it still boils down to cultural.
Absolutely.
Totally different.
Great. So let's backtrack for a bit and talk about your journey into marketing.
Okay.
Right. How did you find marketing as an interest before it became a passion for you? And I know, of course, I've read your story, I've read interviews, I know how it started, right? But then talk us through how you became a marketing giant before leaving Nigeria.
Oh, okay. So I started my career in sales. I loved the rush of sales, I started with an alcoholic beverage company called Guinness Nigeria. I was a GMT. We start with sales. You have to learn the sales fundamental. And I was moved to a place where I didn't understand the language, but then you have to. So I was moved to Ekiti. That was the first time in my life I had moved away from, home. Now, the Ekiti people don't speak Yoruba. They speak the Ekiti dialect, but wonderful people. I didn't miss a beat when I worked there. And so that was how it started, the way the Guinness brand heritage, they carry their brand with so much pride. I wanted to know what makes a brand tick, how do they think of all these promotions? How do they think of all these brands? So that was what intrigued me, And when the opportunity came to move to marketing in Guinness, I took it with my hands and my legs, and I ran as fast, as a GMT, that's a graduate management trainee. You are given that opportunity to expand and move from one role to another, and then there was an opportunity to move into marketing, and I took a hands, feet, and everything. They moved me back to Lagos, but it was something that I was intrigued about, how they build brands.
Right, and then from there it was the FMCG.
That Guinness is an FMCG, but I started to get a little bit confined with the structures in Guinness. They were structured and all that. I wanted some bit of liberty to be free, so I moved from Guinness to Fan Milk. At that time, they said it was a bad move. People were like, why would you leave Guinness for a Fan Milk? But I knew what I wanted. With Fan Milk, they fanned the flames of innovation for me. That was the first time I had the opportunity to do real innovation without the structures. Because in Guinness, you have an innovation team, you have the marketing team, but in Fan Milk, it was all infused together. And that was when my love for innovation started with Fan Milk. And then Fan Milk got bought over by a company called Danone. Right. It was a bit of a rocky one, and I didn't know where I stood at that point in time. So I moved to PZ.
Right. Where I met you.
Yeah, where you met me, yeah.
Right.
And then then on, from PZ, that was how I got the opportunity to come to the UK for the first time to work on a brand called Imperial Leather.
Oh, great.
They were doing a global overhaul of the brand, and I had to work with different countries. So first was the UK, I had to work with Poland, I had to work with the Middle East, Asia, Thailand, and MENA, which is Saudi Arabia, then Africa, which is Kenya and Nigeria. And that's how I knew that even in Africa there were differences, cultural differences in the way they perceive brands and adverts and marketing. So yeah.
Right. Okay then. So you've technically journeyed across several industries and several areas, and you have held on strongly to the pillars of marketing. You have dedicated your time, experience, and knowledge to promote brands and ensure that they thrive in competitive markets. Now you're in the UK. Tell me, what has the experience been being a marketing person here in the UK? You mentioned earlier about the difference between consumer interest and habits, though, but in the practice of marketing in itself, what are the differences that you can say exist between the different landscapes?
Okay, so first I have to acknowledge that the way they do marketing here is very structured. Because the market here is structured, it also affects the way they do marketing. So you don't have the open market, you don't have Balogun and all that. You have select stores that you have to be in, and you have to do marketing in those stores. So it's very, very different for each store. Like Tesco is a hub on its own, Asda is a hub on its own, Boots is a hub on its own, and this is me talking from a personal care point of view. So when you're doing marketing, you have to do it for the different big boys. So Tesco will want their marketing different from the way you do for Boots, the way you do for Asda. So the way it works is you have to build a marketing strategy for each one of them, because they are your big boys. Unlike in Nigeria, where you have to think outside the box, is a VUCA environment, things can change like this. The stores, like the modern trade in Nigeria, is like 2% of our
audience
volume, while the open market in Nigeria commands 67%. So you actually have different ways of doing marketing there. So if you want to reach, you have to reach the market woman and the market man. And while here it's the shopper, it's very shopper led. So it's very different. Very, very different.
Right. So I was going to ask, to what extent was your knowledge and experience back home in Nigeria? So what extent was it helpful in getting a job here, in getting a role here, and in practicing here?
I would say that not very. Why? A lot of businesses are centered around Europe and the UK. So they tend to devalue your experience from back home and expertise. However, companies that have multinational links tend to appreciate people who come from, permit me to say, developing countries, because they feel like they can walk on their feet, like take decisions, turn things around, because that's the environment they are known for. But a lot of companies here do not value that, because they only cater to the European and the UK market. And they feel like, and I'll be honest, they feel like we from Africa that have this experience are a little bit aggressive.
Wow, interesting.
Because we want to win. And I think here, winning for them is like, that's the business of the company. I can do my bit. But in Africa, in Nigeria, we take winning personally. To say that if my brand doesn't succeed, I'm not succeeding. So it's way different.
Right. Okay, so I suppose my question really is, finding and getting a job and getting back on the ladder in the UK, having been, in quotes, displaced, of course, because of relocation, how easy was that for you as compared to, what you currently are doing? I know, of course, you've moved here for several reasons, including, having to expand your scope and the understanding of digital marketing. When you were done with that, did you have a very, did you just stroll into the communications and marketing space? Because, of course, based on your experience and your expertise, was it easy for you to morph into being a marketing strategist in the UK?
No.
Right.
It wasn't because, and I'll say it again, because they feel like you do not have the European or the UK experience. Your experience is very different, and to be fair, cultural wise, it is different. However, there are so many things that you can bring to the table as someone who thinks outside the box, because as a Nigerian marketing person, you have to think outside the box to get results, and there is that. But no, it's not a walk in the park. You have to prove that you understand the UK, you understand the European market, and you can easily adapt. And that proof means that they have to give you a chance to prove it.
Yeah.
And that chance is not as forthcoming as you would expect it to be.
Yeah. Interesting. Right. So we do have, typically we have got letters from anonymous listeners. And of course, there's one here that I will read out, and you can just advise the person. Typically, that's what happens. There's a letter, and then you respond to it.
Okay.
Right, this one says, Dear Japajantis team, I trust that I'm going to find some solace, even if I don't find a solution from your team. I was a professional in the banking sector for over 10 years before deciding to move with my family to the UK. I started out on a student visa while my wife was working. And right now I am done with work, and I have been trying to apply to get back into the professional space as a professional credit analyst as I was back in Nigeria. The truth is, it has been a hell of a ride, and the unfortunates I have received are too many to count. I am fast losing confidence in myself and my ability, as I would not even get a chance to go past the gate, let alone be allowed to prove myself. This letter is coming from someone who's about to give up, and I'm hopeful that there's something or two that I can learn from your team as to what to do next, as I'm fast losing my mind. Quite a touchy one.
It is.
Right, but what do you think about that? I mean, I have a lot to say about that, because the experience that I've read from people about their attempts to get back on the ladder, to get back into what they were used to doing or what they know to do, is very heart-wrenching. It's not the most exciting conversation, right? Especially for immigrants. And what's your thought about that? Sometimes people advise that you maybe deviate a bit from what it was that you were doing and look out for other opportunities, maybe. But what would you advise anybody in that situation to do?
Okay, first, I'm really sorry that that person is going through that, and I think that is similar to a lot of immigrant stories where they take a whole lot of time. They don't even get the chance to prove themselves, due to what's going on. However, there's one thing I know, if it's in the banking sector, is there are lots of opportunities out there, and a lot of people think because it doesn't pay, mean that it's not for me. I want the one that pays. But you need to build that credibility in yourself. And in the banking space, I've seen different. I check Meetup, I check Eventbrite. What's that thing that's happening in my area that I can attend?
Right.
And then there are enterprise solutions that are free of charge. You could go there, you could get people talk about what you need to do. The banks like NatWest, Lloyds, they always do this internship program that is free, that you could sign up for and get that accreditation. So instead of folding your hands and doing nothing, start to build your resume in the UK. Attend seminars, there are lots of free seminars that you can attend. I know that some of us are working in places where we might not want to work, but the times that we have, scout on the internet, leave TikTok alone, leave Instagram. Why don't you do something productive in that 2 hours? Check for internship opportunities, the ones that you can do online. There are a lot of I mean, that's one thing I have noticed here. There are a lot of opportunities where you could do stuff for free, join a class for free, do stuff, and then get that credential. And when you're having conversation with people, oh, I did this, I did that, oh, really? And then you get to meet people. I mean, meetups are really important at this point.
Great. And I see you've done quite a bit of it on your LinkedIn page. I see you write about marketing, you write white papers about, things that are trends in the marketing space. And there's one that you do, this short video as well, where you narrate.
Yes.
I like that. It's very colorful. It's really nice.
So it's just to put yourself out there, because one of the things that people don't understand is that your social presence is as important as your work life. When your employer wants to check you out, the first thing they do is your social presence. There's some places where you apply, they'll say put your LinkedIn, your link to your LinkedIn. So they want to see what you have been doing. They want to see how you're relating. And that's why I tell people, because you're in another sector doesn't mean you have to close down your LinkedIn or continue with what you're doing. You are a master at what you do, so continue. Write about it. Research about some things that are going on. Talk about it on your LinkedIn. Do not shy away from it. Because you are doing, you're a care worker now, doesn't mean that you throw away your 15 years experience in the banking sector. You know how this credit thing works. You know how. Put your knowledge to good use. If you know how loans work, if you are someone who has been in the banking sector and you know how loans work and you know how mortgage works, write about it. Or I know that a lot of people want to go into mortgage. These are the 5 things you need to know about. Be an authority. Do not let your knowledge go like that, because you don't know who might be reading it and someone will say, I want that person. So always be ready.
Great. Right now, so let's end this conversation on a very non-marketing note. Let's go about your locks. Because I do have locks as well.
I can see.
But mine is nowhere as lush as yours.
I'm just going to
no way
do this so that you see how long my locks are.
Oh my goodness. How long have you had it for?
I've had it for 9 years.
9. Okay. I'm barely 2.
So yes.
Right. Is there a story behind it?
Yes, there is.
Great. Please do share.
So I came in to work in 2016. I came to UK to work on a project for PZ. I had like natural hair, but of course now as a lady now I wear my weaves and all that. And then one day I came to the office. I usually get to the office really early. I get into the 6 a.m. train so that I could start my day early, quiet and all that. So I got in. I noticed that every time, and this is not a one time only, every time there's a change in the security guard, when I get to the office at 6:30 or something, because the office has a gym, so I try to do some gym work and then take a bath, get ready, freshen up. Every time there's a change in the security, I get told that, oh sorry, that's not the way to the kitchen, the kitchen is over there, because I'm trying to get the lift to the office. And that's because of your hair? My hair, my color, my look. So I've been stereotyped, that I'm the help. And then I get to say, no, I'm not. I am a project person. I'm an expert coming in to do a project. And then I get I'm sorry. In fact, one lady, she's a black lady, she had said, oh sorry, that's the way to the kitchen. I said, no, I'm an expert, I came into work. And later she came to look for me. She was like, how did you get this job? I'm like, I don't understand. She said, my son had graduated from the university for 3 years now. He works for the rail station and he cannot get a job into this kind of place. And to be fair to her, I was the only black person. Wow. For a company that has 60% of its revenue coming in from Nigeria, you'd expect. So you see 1 or 2 people from Nigeria coming in to do maybe one project or the other and leave. And I told her, I'm sorry, I can't help you there because I'm coming from Nigeria. I'm an expert. I'm just working here for 2 years and I'll be going back. So at that point, I told myself, no, I'm going to be African, I'm going to be Nigerian, no more weaves, no more. In fact, I started to leave my hair. I locked my hair in 2016. I said, no, I'm going to leave my hair like that. And that was how it was till now. Right. You really should be proud of your hair. It's so full, so rich, looks so healthy. Yes. Nice. How long did you plan to keep it for? I don't know.
9 years is a bloody long time.
Yes, it
Great.
is. I have learned to embrace my look.
Yeah.
Embrace how natural. In fact, I stopped wearing makeup, heavy makeup, except there is. I saw Alicia Keys one day, and she was talking about being natural and being, embracing who she is and all that. Because there's something about you being African, and it's empowering. And I feel like people need to, mostly when you're in diaspora, I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be me, and I want people to say, "Oh my God, your hair looks gorgeous. Where are you from? Oh, that outfit looks amazing. Where are you from?" So I will wear my Nigerian jersey with pride.
Right.
I will wear my Ankara print, Adire print with pride, and I'm going to tell people that, "Oh, you're wearing orange in winter," and I'm saying, "I'm Nigerian. We love loud colors." My God, that kind of thing. I get that a lot, and I tell them, "I'm Nigerian. I'm sorry. Wear loud colors."
Right.
We've had conversations where I tell people, "Why are you calling lunch dinner?" I mean, I grew up knowing Queen's English, and it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When did you people start saying dinner for lunch? So those kind of questions are like, I'm African.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Great. And I picked a thing from what you said, your last response about you introducing yourself as an expat despite being black. I mean, you've only come here, there in PZ right there, and for only 2 years, but you were introduced as an expat because that's what they would be called if you were back home, if a white person was in Nigeria, isn't it? Great.
I'm an expert. I refuse to be called an immigrant in the workplace because I am an expatriate. I am not British. I embrace their culture. I love their culture. I mean, it's home. However, when I'm working at that point, I'm an expert.
Great.
And that's how we call them back home. And sometimes it irks me when we say immigrant and expert. So why don't I call the white people